Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Veterinary Roundtable, the podcast where we answer your veterinary-related questions while having some fun along the way. If you enjoyed today's episode or a previous episode, be sure to leave us a review on your podcast provider of choice. And if you have any feedback to offer to improve the Veterinary Roundtable, let us know.
Boom.
Boop, 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 boop.
Mic drop. Boop, boop, boop. 106 on Apple from 105. Let's talk about where we were and where we are now.
Let's talk about, we were talking about, we were at zero. Zero.
We were at zero.
Zero, the big goose egg. Okay, but now.
We started from nothing, now we're here.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Thank you, Drake.
Okay. And then 257 on Spotify. Now we're at 259.
Do you think people listen on Spotify more or
I think
Apple?
we have this discussion every time.
Well, it's Spotify because it has more reviews, or people can't find how to leave it.
Yeah,
no,
it's difficult on
difficult
Apple.
on Apple. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We had a listener even write in and say it was difficult.
Yeah.
So
Right?
you think people, what podcast listen device thing do you use?
She's already said this.
The
and
YouTube app.
Okay, the YouTube app. What do you use? Nothing, because you don't listen to podcasts.
No.
I think I've gone.
But if I do, it's on Apple because I
you'd go to Apple.
Most people have iPhones though. That's what I don't get.
I go to Spotify nowadays.
I don't have Spotify.
Because
I'm gonna chime in here
Okay.
because I have the stats. I know for a fact that more people listen on Apple Podcasts.
Interesting.
However, because Courtney's right, more people have iPhones, right? And so Apple Podcast, the app comes with an iPhone. However, writing a review on Spotify is and you don't even write a review, you just leave a rating. Leaving a rating on Spotify is way easier to do and to find than on Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, the rating is at the very top. And you just click on it, it's at the very top. On Apple Podcasts, it's at the very bottom. You have to scroll all the way to the bottom to leave the review. So just a little insight right there.
Well, Apple get
insider
it together.
information from the man behind the curtain.
Is that God?
It's God.
Is that God talking to us?
Okay, so like Harrison, one of the things I've noticed on Spotify though is that the podcasts come out sooner than on Apple Podcasts. Not ours. I'm talking about if I'm listening to somebody.
No, they all should come out at the same time.
Okay, I don't believe so. I
Maybe
don't
your
believe it.
phone just gets notifications at different
Wait,
times.
you said not ours, just
Not
other
ours.
people's.
It's just
other
your,
people's.
It's your phone.
So maybe they have a deal.
They have a deal.
I don't know.
Okay,
No, I think it's your phone.
it's my phone. That definitely could be.
Okay, glad we solved that.
I have another little. I think more students use Spotify because you get a free membership if you're a student.
Oh,
Your subscription is free if you're a student on Spotify.
good point. That makes sense.
Apple
Yeah.
is more expensive.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's it. That's all I got.
Speaking of reviews,
New review. I really enjoyed this podcast. The insight from the staff's perspective as a customer, patient, guardian adds a unique touch that makes every episode engaging. My favorite part is listener inquiries at omg.every.user.name.is.taken.
That's awesome.
oh my god, could you imagine typing that every time?
No.
Oh, that'd be
That
hilarious.
is an amazing user.
But like
Big
that
fan.
username, like when they created it, I'm sure they were like, "Oh my god!" Can you see? You kind of like
They
feel
just
the
kept going
anger
through- yeah.
exactly.
I
like
wonder how many
dot,
they
dot,
tried.
dot. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, that's awesome.
What was the breaking point? How many?
exactly.
How many did they
if I just
try?
put another dot in,
Yep.
Yeah, right?
oh my
That's
goodness.
amazing.
Okay, let's describe the videos for our folks that we're getting ready to do.
Yes.
So
and it's because we reached 100 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
That was our
We
goal.
asked and y'all delivered, so we thank you
Mhm.
from the bottom of our hearts.
now
Devin thanks you.
we're on the. We've gotten our stuff together and we're ready. We're ready to do it.
Yeah.
So describe one of the videos we're getting ready to do.
So one of them, Devin, is going to be on the chopping block,
Chopping
if you
block,
will,
Yep. Mhm.
and going to I think
We
a
haven't.
school.
Yes,
right?
a school.
One of the schools.
A school.
A
Mhm.
school, and going to ask animal related questions, vet med related questions, and if they get it correct, they get to pie her in the face.
Yes.
With whipped cream.
Yep.
And if you don't know why, Devin, go back a couple
100
seasons
episodes ago.
Seasons. Do we have seasons?
I'm not sure what episode we started this.
I don't know where
When
it
we
came
were
a
at
from.
while ago.
when we were in our old studio for sure.
It was definitely
Yeah.
when we were in the old studio.
Yes.
And then the second punch is
the second video.
yeah.
We're all gonna be standing on the side of the street like a bunch of ding dongs, asking for people to honk for the vert.
Yep. Honk
Holding up
for the vert.
signs.
Mm-hmm.
Honk if you love the vert.
That's right.
Just for
People are
fun.
just gonna honk because
We're
it's
gonna be
us.
like the guy with the cardboard sign.
Yes.
Just standing.
All I know is I just really want one that spins. Or does the guy spin it himself?
They have little handles on the back and then they
Okay.
spin it. So it's not like a physical spinning sign. The people spin it, but they have handles.
that they're spinning.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you can't, how would you spin a sign if you're holding like the edge of it?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think they do it.
No, they have handles on it. Like the handles don't spin. It just makes it easier to grab the board.
Even on the ones I've seen them go like hold it from each end. And
Oh, if they,
like
I
that.
mean, they can do with that. but
Sign masters
I
out
think
there.
they still
I
have
know.
handles.
I told you I watched the
mean-
national or world's like competition for sign
World sign
spinning.
spinning.
It was in Vegas. It's a
Only in
thing.
Vegas.
That's
oh my
insane.
God.
Everything is a thing. It's like
Okay.
everything has a holiday too.
Yep.
I'm Dr. Emily King.
I'm Courtney Allen.
I'm Dr. Ashlyn Duckwall. And follow us on social media.
Yes.
At
Devin's not here today. We're
the
missing
Veterinary
our
Roundtable.
fourth person,
Yeah.
Devin.
Yes.
Dee Dee is not here.
So
She'll be back. Don't worry.
She be back.
She's getting ready to get some pie in her face.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice facial.
Yep.
Okay,
Pits and peaks.
Year. I went first last time. Somebody else go.
I'll go first.
Okay.
My pit is crud. I forgot it already.
I know I had so many stored. Now they're all gone.
I'm like, I wrote it down. So, I know what it was. One of our doctors is sick this week.
Yeah.
And it really makes me sad.
She's really sick.
Yeah, she's really
Yeah.
sick. And it really makes me sad when people really are struggling like on that struggle bus, because I know how stressful it is to feel like you're not at work, like that you're letting people
Mhm.
down. And it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, just take care of your health.
Oh.
And it just makes me sad
And
because
she's got a little boy.
Yeah.
Which makes me
it's
so
hard for her
sad.
family and everything
Yeah.
else. So that was my pit.
That's also one of the struggle buses you can't get off by choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just
Some
just gotta
struggle
live
buses
through
you
it.
can like get off.
Yeah.
That's a bus you can't get off.
Yeah. Got to just
so
persevere
good thoughts for
for her. Yes,
she
absolutely.
starts
Because she's a
feeling better.
sweet
I know.
person. My peak is Trevor met someone his own age that had. Are you laughing, Harrison? That has similar disabilities as himself. So very high functioning and same age. And so we met this person at dance, and she wants to do things with him. And so they went to Smoothie King last night.
Like a date?
I don't know what you call it. All I know is Harrison and Madeline asked him about it, and he's like, now hold on, I'm not ready for that yet. Like, I'm not ready to be dating. I just want to be friends, and then we can think about dating and then getting married. And
Better
I
make
was
sure
like-
he knows. She knows.
I know,
Gotta
it was
keep her in
so
the
cute.
loop.
Yeah.
Did you picked him up from Smoothie King, didn't you?
I did not. Richie did.
Oh, okay.
So Richie picked him up from Smoothie King, and he was just all smiles when he got back. He is not a person who drinks smoothies, but would never say, because he doesn't like ice cream. He doesn't really eat ice cream or cold things.
Okay.
And so he went and bought something and bought her something. And the thing he bought was like this big. And I'm like, you don't, like, why did you? And the only thing I can think of is that that's what she got. And so
Yeah.
then he
Yeah.
got the same thing. And we had this whole conversation about like, what flavor are you going to want to get? Because I knew he was going to struggle, like, because he doesn't usually eat this stuff. And I was like, he likes margaritas. So I was like, do a lime flavor.
Yeah.
Like, like see if they have like a lime flavor or coconut and lime or something.
Mhm.
No, he came back with something that looked purple. I don't know. I don't know what
Did
it was.
he drink any of it?
No, it was like a full container when he got back. So he
Just
just,
gentleman.
yes, he was like, I had the best time. And da-da-da.
That's so cute.
Yay
So-
for Trevor.
yeah, so it made me
It's
really happy.
exciting.
Can't wait to go to the wedding.
I know. So anyway, okay.
That's awesome.
Those are my pits and peaks.
Okay. My peak, I think I mentioned in the last episode briefly, but I found myself a massage therapist.
Mm.
And I'm really proud of myself because I just finally did it. I bit the bullet because I've been putting it off. And my physical health is struggling from it. So did that. My pit is, so my husband and I live in a townhome. It's a part of an apartment complex, I guess you would say. And so we're just renting just until we can buy a house. But we just got bought out by new management and it's not going well.
Oh, no,
It
that's
used
not
to
good.
be it used to be a really great place to live. Like, we loved it. Can't complain. It's in a great area. The price is amazing. And the new management just doesn't seem to care about the residents anymore. Our old owners were amazing, went above and beyond. Communication was great. When we moved in, they renovated our whole place, brand spanking new, like awesome. And then now the new management's coming through doing new renovations, kind of just half-assing it. It's just, it really sucks
Yeah.
because it's like, it's not just us feeling it, like all of our neighbors, everybody feels it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like we'd rather get out sooner rather than later, which really, like I said, it sucks
Yeah.
because I really
Yeah.
like the location we're in, but It's what you got to go through when you live in a complex.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just
Bummer.
sucks.
And then there's just a whole task of finding another
Another
place
place.
that's comparable.
Ugh.
And
Yeah.
Yep. So it just sucks right now, but it's okay. Just part of being an adult.
yeah.
Adulting.
Adulting. Okay. My pit is I had 2 euthanasias back to back yesterday. Like bam, bam. Like I came out of one. They're like, we're ready for the next one.
Yep.
I was like, oh,
Great day.
while I'm doing other appointments. And so it was just like, I don't know. I mean, we've had some multiple in a day, but I don't think
Yeah.
I've had, well, there was one day, I don't know if you remember, one morning I had 4 back to back to back to back. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so that was kind of like, oh, I guess I'm in the same mindset. Just
Right.
jump right in. You don't have to go in there, go to an annual and then go
Be
in.
happy
You
and then
just-
go back. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was a bummer. But they were understandable.
Yeah.
Dogs are very sick. And my peak is I rode my new horse
Ooh.
the first time on our property. And so I was nervous, and I was going to have my friend and our neighbor like ride with me just in case he was like being a stinker, but he was unable to. So I did it myself, and he did really good. So that was awesome. It was like a nice, I felt safe, which is what's important when you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out a new horse. So
Yeah.
Did you
for
say
sure.
that you got him officially on here?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember that.
Yeah,
Okay.
his name's Arthur.
Arthur.
And yeah, I never really talked about how we lost Wayne. Wayne went to heaven, but so there was time between Wayne passing and getting this new horse. I just didn't really talk about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Arthur, when you got on him, were you worried that he was just going to take off, or like, what's the thing that scares you?
not
like-
really take off, just like, would he spook at something? Like if a car goes by, and I've just like watched him, because where I ride him is where he also like hangs out in the pasture. So it's not like we went to a whole new place.
Right.
But it's just, I'm in charge at that point. And so, and then it's the first time, we're not just walking around, we're trotting around. And so asking him to pick up pace and like, so new ground, new territory, all that type of stuff. But yeah, no, he wasn't a stinker or anything, because he hadn't been worked for several weeks. So some horses can be a little bit like, ooh, I'm not going to listen. I'm
Right.
excited, or I'm a toddler. Like,
right.
whatever, I'm going to buck a little bit. But he didn't do any of that. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, he was really good.
That's exciting.
That's so cool.
I know, it makes me want to ride him again.
Yeah, for sure.
He's an awesome horse.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Because I got to watch him like
Yeah.
a week after he had been home. And he's fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's a huge dog.
He is a baby.
Comes right up to you, and
Yeah.
he's like, you have to. At first, I was like, he doesn't even like me. Like I would try to pet him, and his ears would go back a little bit, and I was like, ugh, I'm just annoying him. It's
Mhm.
a one-sided relationship. But then the other day, I was just standing out there petting him, and he was falling asleep. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
Oh,
we're heading the right direction.
He's
Yeah.
funny. He was rubbing his neck on
Yeah.
like the gate, like the fence part. When I was watching, it was just he's
got a lot of
goofy.
personality.
Yeah. He's a lot different than Wayne. It's just their age difference. Is
Oh
like
yeah,
I haven't been around horses that much, so seeing the age difference
Right.
is just wild.
it's crazy.
Like he's a whole. It's just yeah.
Now, what do you do for environmental enrichment for a horse? Like, are there things that you do out there, like for a horse like that, that's like,
yeah.
like interested in being silly and doing stuff? Like, do
Yeah.
they do stuff? Like, do they?
I mean, I spend time. I brush him, give him treats, like whatever. We have a little ball.
Yeah.
It's not a little ball; it's a big ball. And some horses like them, where they just like put them in their mouths and flip them up. So I haven't put that out there yet, but it's my plan. I'm going to get
Yeah.
that. Wayne was terrified of it, so I didn't do it. He was absolutely terrified. It was a big red ball, and yeah. So that, and then. I mean, with Wayne, I used to just go out there and run around with him.
Yeah.
So that's another enrichment thing. Having a buddy, like we're in the works to try to find a buddy that just is kind of there as
Right.
a friend. Nothing that I'm going to do anything crazy with. Maybe Helen would get on that buddy,
Right.
sooner than Arthur. But so that's another just enrichment thing, is having
Having somebody
another
else to
part
share
of
the
the herd.
space with.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Mhm.
He's a good boy. Okay.
That's the big one. Listen, inquiry.
Yeah. Who wants to
Okay.
take that one?
Here we go. Guess I'll take it. I have a weird and heartwarming story about music and my dog since you discussed playing it for your patients in your last podcast. I brought my dog into the clinic I work at for leaking urine. We ran a UA and it was clear, so we tried Proin. It did help for a little bit, but then got worse. We were then doing an ultrasound-guided cysto to run more tests, and the doctor found a mass cranial to the bladder, but not attached to the bladder. There was free fluid, which was blood, in his abdomen. Due to other issues with my dog, we did not explore, just drained the fluid and did palliative care and kept him comfortable for the meantime. 3 days later, we were watching a show on TV and Piano Man by Billy Joel started playing. My dog started howling like crazy. I thought he was suddenly in more pain and I was going to have to rush him to be euthanized. My husband paused the show and I examined Jax and he stopped howling. Played the show again and he started again. I have never heard him howl, barely even bark. We paused the show and played the song on my phone and he howled his heart out. We ended up euthanizing a couple weeks later because of his quality of life. Now, every time I hear this song, it reminds me of my Jackie boy and I'm able to look back and smile. I encourage you all to try with your pets at home. I love your podcast and thanks for listening to my story. Leah, LVT from Michigan. That is a really cute story.
So cute.
The first time I read it, I was like, oh my God. It's really cute.
Oh,
Music is
I wanna know what
magic.
kind of dog he is.
Music is magic. I know. The fact that he hasn't howled before, like,
I just picture, is it a small howl? Is it a big howl?
Right? Like where
Yeah.
they throw their head back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
that's
Oh,
really sweet. I'm glad you
that's
have
really
something
sweet.
to make you happy.
Yeah.
Because losing a pet is not easy.
Yeah,
So
that is really
it's
sweet.
nice that you have something to make you smile.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
very
Great
cool.
song too, by the way. Great
Yes.
song.
Yes.
Very, very good song.
Okay, next one. If I want to become a certified vet technician, do I have to go to an AVMA certified college, or would the BYUI pre-vet major work? Anonymous. What is BYUI?
I tried to look it up and I couldn't find a whole lot on it, but you do have to go to an AMVA certified, or it's AVMA, isn't it? That's
It's
backwards,
AVMA.
isn't it?
It
Yeah.
should be
It's
AVMA.
AVMA. Mhm.
You have to go to accredited school.
My guess is the pre-vet major work would be along the lines of like, you know, an undergraduate degree
Yeah.
in pre-vet.
Just following the
Right.
classes you would need.
Now, if they
Yeah.
have the, and Harrison, maybe you can dig that a little bit deeper on your end. Maybe you can find something that's makes more sense. But to Courtney's point, I think, yeah, you need to be an AVMA credentialed
You have to
school.
have so you have to graduate. You have to get your degree from an AVMA accredited school,
school.
and then you have to therefore prove that you have that degree in order to take the
Take the
VTNE.
VTNE. Yeah.
Because you have to input that information into the VTNE website
Right.
to register for the test.
So the question being certified, yes, you need to
Yes.
go to a AVMA.
Yes.
Accredited school
Yes.
in order to. If you want
'cause
to
you
be, if you
can't-
want to be licensed, if you want to be able to take the VTNE, you have to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you can't. I see what the thought is. Like, you can't go to Purdue, for instance, and do a pre-vet bachelor's
BS, right.
and then take the VTNE.
Mhm.
You have
Right.
to do. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. And I'm not sure. Harrison, were you able to find out what BYU?
I could not find anything about
I know it's
it.
Brigham Young. It's got to be Brigham Young University, I would think, but I don't know what the I would be.
Yeah,
unless
I'm not
it's
sure.
Unless it's a tight, like the I is not supposed to be there. Brigham Young.
What is
Yeah.
coming up for me is BYU Idaho.
Okay. So,
So
Brigham
there
Young
are-
University
there
in
are-
Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's BYU. It says on my end, it says BYU-Idaho.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So that would be like, yes, I would think what they're asking is like the BS in biology or pre-vet
Right.
at Purdue.
Okay.
Mhm.
You still are going to have to.
Go through.
Do
Purdue.
something more,
Yeah.
a little bit more, go a little further.
Yeah.
In order to get your license
Or not do that and just go get.
to accredited school
Yeah.
to get your degree. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Last one. Kingling.
If VetMed had a staff member walkout or intro song, what would yours be and why? What are your favorite once in a lifetime cases?
Whoa, that's a loaded question.
At Caitlin McDonald.
That's a loaded
Once in a
question.
lifetime cases.
Woo, we got the whole wall.
Okay, well,
We got
let's
the
start
whole
with
list on the
let's
wall.
start-
Many.
Let's
You
start
got,
with the
you've
song.
got a bunch of
Let's
stuff
start
on
with
the
the
zero.
song.
Okay, the song I'm going with is, I don't remember who sings it, but Confident by, is that the name of it?
I don't know. You have to sing it now.
No, I can't sing
You
it.
have
I'm a
to.
horrible singer.
I decided I'm going to read what my recent search history is on Apple Music, and then I'll tell you the song that
Confidence
I
by
was thinking
Demi Lovato.
Oh, yes, thank you. You going to play it for me?
Sure.
Okay. Here we go.
of. Oh, Yeah, that's a good one.
This is very her.
yeah.
Yes, right?
It's
That's what
very
I'm saying.
We've definitely played it before in the clinic.
And what's so great is that at the clinic,
Can
we
they
have
hear
a
it?
tunnel behind. And so that's why I always
Yeah.
call it the tunnel, because in sports, you run out
Yes.
through the tunnel.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to
Mhm.
like run out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mm.
okay.
Okay, well, we can make that happen.
I know, we
can
should
make your
totally-
dreams come true.
Let's do that. Let's do a video on running
Okay.
out of the tunnel.
Yes.
Okay.
Get
We
a
could do
smoke
that with
machine.
each one of our. Oh my gosh, we have the smoke machine and
And
everything.
then get
Yeah.
some strobe lights.
And
some
then we
disco
do
lights.
each song. We each come out to our.
Yeah.
TikTok coming soon.
Okay, Caitlin, be
Harrison,
on the lookout.
Yes.
We're gonna not only tell you the song, we are
going to literally walk
going
out.
we are
to
doing it. We're doing a
Yeah.
walkout video. Okay.
Okay. So this is my recent Apple song history.
Okay.
It's kind of it's
It's
funny
all over the
reading
place.
this. Yes.
Okay.
First, we have your worship today. So
Oh,
the Christian playlist that I listen to every morning. Fresh Eyes by Andy Grammer. Where the Wild Things Are by Luke Combs. Coco Melon.
Coco Melon.
A Bar Song, Tipsy by Shabuzi.
Mhm.
Ghost by Justin Bieber. Mitchell Tenpenny. Luke Combs and Need to Breathe. The artist.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing right now. But my walkout song is going to be Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. It's classic. Or Beer for My Horses.
Yes, beer,
R.I.P.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's a
Those
good
are
one, too.
great.
Mhm.
Okay.
Those
I
are
like
just
both of
so
those.
good.
We need to remember that walkout song for
Oh, yeah.
because I'll tell
Beer
you
for
why.
My Horses. This is a
Yes,
good one.
we need to remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I don't have necessarily a specific song. I think it'd be anything Pitbull.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
it just.
could we
I
play the
vibe
"Where Are My
so
Country
hard
Girls
with
At"?
it.
The Pitbull's in that song. I
Yeah,
love that
I
song.
just I vibe so hard with any Pitbull song.
Like for the thing or our event?
no, just as a walkout.
I just
song.
it's
Walkout
just
song.
like he's
Where
just
the
a
country
vibe,
girls at?
and it
He's a
just gets
vibe.
you hyped up, and I just love me some Pitbull.
I just always think of Fireball.
Yeah.
Fireball, and then the other one is the
Hey baby, drop it. That one.
no the the lumber I call it
Timber?
yeah thanks
The lumber.
Lumber.
that's the only words that's coming
Or
to my head.
it's going down. I'm yelling lumber.
That would be amazing. Hey, listen, I just have a feeling when he was creating that song, that's probably the word he came up with first, and then someone was like, "You should use timber."
I agree.
When you sang it
Totally.
right then, it sounded
sounded pretty
perfect.
good.
It
It
sounded
flowed.
really good. So,
Okay.
jeez.
I
Okay.
think we have to table our favorite once in a lifetime case.
I have one.
You do?
Mhm.
I think we should. Okay, you do yours, but I really want to. We should.
You
want to
go look at the. You want to get the
I think
zebra
we
list.
should list what's on our zebra wall, our zebra
Oh,
list.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, we haven't talked about it yet. We have literally physically written on our wall in the doctor's office a zebra list, and it's all like the weird cases that we feel like we're just
Once in a lifetime.
weird enough to put
Yeah.
on there. And I feel like we're slowing down on putting them because there's been more.
Yeah.
I need to put the FIP count up there.
Yes, you do.
They physically have written in Sharpie on the actual
Yes.
wall. There's not a piece of paper on the wall.
Yeah.
It's literally on the wall. In order to get rid of it, you'll have to paint over it.
We have to climb
Like-
up on the table to get to the next. We're on the
We're
second
on
column
the second
now.
column.
It's a
So,
crazy list.
I'm
Yeah.
going to refer to that because there's too many.
I
good
think we
ones.
should take a picture of the list so we can
Yes.
share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that because then we could post it.
Mine, okay, so when I read this, I don't know if it's like once in a lifetime, but it's a case that will literally stick with me for the rest of my life. And I got very, very attached to this case.
Okay.
It was Harlow.
Mm.
Oh yeah, that was a great case.
She, like that one, I can't describe my feelings about it. It was just something, but it was, I think it sticks out to me also because I got attached to the dog. I got very, very attached to the dog. So it was an abuse case. And this pity, granted, I'm a pity lover, if you didn't know yet. Pit bulls are my breed. But it was this pity who was abused, and I won't get into detail. I guess I don't know. She was dragged behind a car per se, I guess. I don't know the full details. But there was legal action taken. She was brought into our clinic, and then we kept her from the person who had brought her in. She stayed with us for like 2 months, I think.
Yeah, a long time.
2 to 3 months. And she just showed so much resilience, and just dogs don't show pain. Like they're just, the fact that she still loved every human that ever interacted with her after being with a human who didn't care about her life whatsoever and treated her like garbage. And then she was still wagging her tail. She went through surgery after surgery. Her whole body had road rash all over it. And she was like just completely raw. Like she had been skinned, and she was just, I don't know, that one stuck out to me too, because in the area that we work in, I don't think that's something that we see ever. It's just not the people we're around.
Yeah.
And so it just, that she blew my mind, and I just fell in love with her, and she was one of the most amazing dogs I've ever met. So that case just really sticks with me. And like I said, we just don't see, I don't want to say we don't see abuse, but we don't see abuse often.
Yeah, thankfully.
And so just seeing a dog, like something that was treated like that and still love the thing that did that to her.
Yeah.
Like humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she wagged her tail the whole time and loved everybody. So
very cool.
That's
that was
my
a really
one.
cool case, especially because we were able to watch it from
literally
start to finish.
It's starting, like I see pictures of her all the time, and like I made a progress thing of her, and it's just insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we haven't seen her in a while, but she came back once time because she has a new owner. She got adopted. She's in a great home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my one.
Yeah, it's a good case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Speaking of cases, wait, before we do that,
we need to promote
the text thing.
The text messaging feature for our podcast. So you tap on the episode in Spotify or Apple, whatever you use, clearly Spotify. Look at the top where it says send us an inquiry through our text message here. You click on that little thing, you type your blurb, you send it on in. If you include your name, we'll give you a shout out. Otherwise, it comes through as anonymous.
Okay.
So use it up.
Yeah. Text us. Text me.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Looking to protect your canine patients against parasites? Look no further than Simparica Trio, Serolaner Moxidectin and Pyrantel chewable tablets. The first chewable to offer triple protection from heartworm disease, ticks and fleas, and roundworms and hookworms. It's also FDA approved to block infections that may cause Lyme disease by killing deer ticks.
Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures. Serolaner belongs to the isoxazoline class, which has been associated with neurologic adverse reactions. The most common side effects were vomiting and diarrhea.
Visit SimparicatRioDVM.com for full prescribing information.
Good one, Duckball.
I wanted to do that in the radio voice.
Okay, case collections.
That was a good radio voice.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Okay.
Thanks.
Case collections.
Case collection.
Cooper King. We should probably talk
Okay.
about Cooper.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
a good
you guys
one.
take it away.
Okay.
Okay, so he's how old? He's like 7.
7. That's what I was
Yes.
going to say. 7. Yeah.
7-year-old male neutered golden doodle.
Mm-hmm.
And his presenting complaint was that he collapsed after a walk.
After a walk, they were outside in late afternoon. It was like 3:00, and
Yep.
she was walking him, and she texted me and was like, "Hey, I was out walking Cooper. He was doing fine for the first 10 minutes. We're not really that hot, like, but then he just fell over."
Yep. So he was actually brought in and worked up by our colleague who basically, when you have a dog collapse, you've got 2 things, cardiac or neurologic. So,
And let me just say, it wasn't heat, in case anybody's wondering that.
Oh, yeah. it was
Because
not
that
the
same
heat.
day, she checked his temperature when she got
Yes,
home.
that's right.
He did recover, and they were able to walk home. Like, he recovered that evening, and so then she didn't bring him in till the next morning. So,
Yeah,
okay,
okay.
sorry, I left out that piece.
No, that's important. And so long story short, I had just examined him for an annual, and everything was great. We talked a lot about his anxiety, which he's a very worked up
Yeah.
dog. So I think that's an important element to his
Mhm.
personality. And anyway, so our long story short is our colleague, the exam at that time was pretty unremarkable overall, but the history is where the concern was most likely with cardiac. So it was decided that they were going to go for a full cardiac workup with chest x-rays.
Well, they submitted the lab work.
But that was unremarkable, wasn't it?
Well, the pro BNP was high.
That's right. I forgot. She did
Yeah.
a canine pro BNP.
Yeah,
Yes.
to just screen them, like as a
Mhm.
simple screening
That's right.
tool to know, like, should we throw all of our eggs in that basket?
Yep.
She
I think
likes
it's kind of
herself
how
some
she was thinking about it.
pro-BNPs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what it tells you if it's high is that there's strain
Stress.
or stretch on
Mhm.
the heart muscle. So that's also a supporting evidence there. So chest x-rays, ECG, and echocardiogram was
Mhm.
performed by the cardiologist that comes in for us. And on the chest x-rays, what we were looking for is there any effusion in the chest, like size of heart, things like that. I will say we ended up doing the chest x-rays after we had information from the cardiologist because she said, yes, I would definitely do them. Because sometimes they're like, no, you don't really need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know any of the results?
On the chest films?
Just any of it?
Yes, on the ultrasound I do, but
okay.
not the
You talk
chest
about
films.
the ultrasound.
No, you do, because you're going to know, you're going to have more details. I just know that I just know the primary problem.
Okay. Well, he had multiple problems.
Yeah.
So on the ultrasound, it showed a very large left atrium and he had regurgitation. So what that means is that there's blood instead of just forward moving throughout all the heart chambers, some of it was spitballing back up into the left atrium. So that's going to increase volume, pressure, make the heart muscle stretch there. And then he also had VPCs, so an arrhythmia. So VPCs is inappropriate
Firing?
electrical firing of the ventricles. And thankfully it was just like every so often he had them. It wasn't consistent. And if you ever have a dog that has VPCs, like tachycardia or whatever that's called. Yeah, right. VPC.
Ventricular tachycardia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
Yeah,
So-
that's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
It's very bad. So that's pretty much like he has heart disease. He has heart issues.
Did he have an issue with his mitral valve?
Oh, so
I thought he had some kind of...
yes, it was it wasn't really dysplastic. I thought I read that the opening was more stenotic is what I thought.
Than what it would normally
yes.
be? Okay.
And that was what was creating
The pressure gradient?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'll get I'm mad. I didn't print out the exact words she
Wording.
said, but
Mhm.
there was something with
I just
that, too.
remember you mentioning something about his mitral valve.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then they did that and I caught her and I was like, hey, do you think we should still pursue x-rays? She goes, oh yeah, he has heart disease. You need to do chest x-rays to look for basically pleural effusion. And that was her main issue. And it was very subjective, very scant interstitial pattern, but not enough to just start furosemide. And he wasn't clinical. He wasn't coughing for it. So we ended up following her lead and starting pimobendin, which helps the heart contract, and then also diltiazem, which is an antiarrhythmia. He's due to have a recheck soon.
Yeah, because
it should have been
4 weeks maybe since.
no, I think we're at like week 3, but
Week
he
3?
should have had a recheck at I think week 2. So we need to reach out and just schedule it. So
She would have texted me if he wasn't doing well. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's probably doing well. Not that keeps him from coming in for the recheck,
Sure.
but at least it makes us
Mhm.
feel better that he's probably responding nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then it's just kind of wait and see, right? I mean, didn't she think it was just like luck of the draw that he has this cardiac disease? Because
Yeah.
knowing the owner, she's like, why?
Yes.
What's the reason?
Yeah.
How did he get it?
She wants to know every little.
What did
piece of
I do
information
wrong?
she can.
What
Yeah.
do we need to do differently?
Well,
kind of
I
a thing.
asked the cardiologist because I knew that was going to be the questions from the
Mhm.
owner. And she's like, sure, there could be a genetic component. It could be environmental. It's hard to say. And from the owner's perspective, she's like, we got him from a breeder. Do we need to let the breeder know that this is an issue? So I was like, you can let them know, but it's not always 100% just a genetic issue. So
Right.
it's kind of bad luck as well. Literally, the cardiologist is like,
This is
some bad luck too.
Yeah.
Just the dog.
So unfortunate.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, we also had a murmur, which is probably where the mitral valve thing came into play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my guess would be that his mitral valve, like I wouldn't think that it's sitting closed the whole time, because then she wouldn't have used pimobendin on him, right? Because it would create pressure, which
Yeah.
would make the left atrial enlargement worse. So like he must not be pushing, or he's regurgitating so much back into his left atrium. So the mitral valve isn't
It was
closing.
a huge regurgitation.
So the mitral valve isn't closing all the way. We'll have to look it up.
yeah,
and
I
come
should have
back.
brought the report. Ugh. I had it fresh in my mind a couple weeks ago.
I know. I know. Time has passed.
Yeah.
Well, he's a detailed enough case that we kept like putting it off.
Right.
We're like, so we'd have time to talk
Yeah.
about him.
I mean, so here's the good news. It's treatable, manageable, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to cure it, but you can still manage it. Because that was another question for her. She's like, how much time do I have? And basically thankfully, she's an owner who understood congestive heart failure, and basically you're managing these hearts to prevent congestive heart failure.
Mhm.
So she understood that, and she understood that his activity level may look a little bit different now. He just can't push him as hard or, take him out in the heat as much. Anything to exert him, you're going to want to avoid. And he just has a disease that needs to be monitored.
Right.
Which is just the change that she wasn't dealing with originally. So,
yeah. Gosh darn it.
mm-hmm.
Sad.
Yep.
Okay. Do you want me to do a case?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. Yes. Yes.
Are you
We
doing
were
one?
just,
Or
no,
is it
no,
just
because we were
tag-
sharing that one. Yes. Yes. I was just thinking about the next thing. Yes.
Okay. My case is a 10-year-old female German Shepherd. I think she's 10, maybe a little bit older. She came to us. So she's a patient of ours. She's been a patient of ours for years. But she came to us for a recheck appointment after going to an ER facility because I think it was like a weekend. We just weren't closed after hours. She went there because she presented for straining to urinate and being really bothered by her back end. So she was going after her vulva a lot and licking it. And so the owners just took her in to make sure it wasn't a UTI, whatnot. And the ER facility ended up finding maggots in her vaginal canal.
Oh, gosh. That's unfortunate.
So I know I'm kind of so the facility sedated her and flushed her all out. So they used saline and dilute betadine. Got her all cleaned up. And then she had, I think she had like a little bit of skin irritation around there, things like that, like urine scalding almost. And then they put her on antibiotics. They ran a urine, but I could not find the results of the urine. I think she had an infection there, like a UTI, just because
they didn't culture it. They just,
okay.
Yeah.
So they did a urinalysis. There was bacteria, as you can imagine. So then she came back to us for a recheck. She was doing well. So we recommended a urine culture recheck just to make sure we had cleared the infection. The owners ended up not doing that because she was doing fine. So a few weeks passed by. So that was like in July, I think, mid-July. She presented again at the same ER facility about a month and a half later because they found more maggots in her vaginal canal. So it happened again. And the owners were thinking that she lays outside by a faucet of some sort, a hose. So they thought that that's where the maggots were coming from. That's where the infection and whatnot was coming from. So then she came back to us for a recheck again so they flushed all the maggots out, got that cleared. She came back again to us for a recheck. There was no more maggots present that we could see or note on exam. But then Dr. Duckwall talked to them about her anatomy. So she has a very, very hooded vulva and she's just a big girl. And so she has a lot of hair and there's just a lot of the things that bacteria likes. So she is just going to have this problem. And so we talked about keeping her clean. So wiping her vulva a lot, keeping her back end clean. And then we also discussed starting Proin for urinary incontinence. Just because we think that's also a factor into why there is bacteria growing there and why it's so prone to going to that area. So we haven't heard from them since then. I think they did end up starting Proin and I think she's doing okay on it. But she's also not the easiest dog to medicate. She doesn't take oral meds very well. So that's another hurdle that the owners have ran into. But as of now, I think she's doing okay.
So the first time it happened, every time I've seen her for like an annual and an exam, her perivulvar rear end smells like urine. And then there's like scalding there and like you can just, those dogs that you're
it's a pretty
old
sight.
Female, you're probably leaking.
Yeah.
So the first recheck, I was like, we need to get a culture to make sure there's no infection. I could trap with Proin, and then we need to start that. Cause like, I think the biggest thing for them and the holdup was they didn't physically see any leaking from her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, she's a large dog. That urine could be small leakage that's
Dribbles.
just trapping.
Yeah.
Just trapping in that. And then, of course, that type of environment is going to attract all the things. And I think at the time, too, we couldn't get a urine because she had just urinated outside. So they didn't want to leave her. Just all the things where they just didn't return to get the culture. So by the second time, I was like, do you guys believe me now? I was like, we have to do this.
Right.
So they left her for us to get a urine because it wasn't a big bladder. And at the time on the recheck exam again, I was like, her vulva is wet right now. Like she has a little bit of what I presume to be urine just on the tip of the vulva. And they're like, oh, she just peed outside. I was like, but that doesn't mean that she should still be actively
Shouldn't be
dripping
sitting there.
right now. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's what convinced them. The fact they had to go to an ER again for the same issue, all of the things. And we talked that we could do a vulvoplasty if we absolutely needed to, if Proin wasn't enough or strong enough to get her incontinence under control and clean up. They're doing better of like making sure they wipe that area and that it stays as clean as possible.
Sure.
She's an older, big German Shepherd, so she's not very active either. So
She's like 100 pounds.
Well, and she's like laying on her side.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
her legs are saying,
Exactly.
Yep.
So her skin's getting smushed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, the flies
Yeah, she doesn't do.
are going to
she's a
land
couch
on her.
potato.
And then that's where the maggots are coming
Mhm.
from.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. I was terrified every time I rechecked her, I was going to see a maggot.
Yeah.
And we didn't full on sedate her because she was doing well. And so we also financially were like, okay, we need the culture. Ideally, I sedate her to re-look all the way up as far as I can, but she's a really good dog. And I could get as far up as like the cone on the otoscope would let me. And it was red, but there was no maggots or eggs or anything. So
yeah. Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think that's a really common presentation with the perivulvar dermatitis. And they're not, I hear that you would hear that all the time with owners about, well, they're not leaving a pile of urine on the floor, you know.
They're not emptying their bladder.
You know, and so it's like, oh, but it's just causing skin irritation over and over again. And so that's your clue, man.
Yep.
I mean, if you cannot clear up the perivulvar dermatitis, like light bulb should be going off going.
Yeah,
Incontinence.
Incontinence
That should be something at least that needs to be
just
like investigated.
Yeah.
Or like try
trial.
it and
Yeah.
see how the pet does, you know?
because it leads to other issues.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Poor girl. All right, you want to popcorn this?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, Dr. King. My name is Samantha Forjan. I am currently a third-year veterinary student attending St. George's University. I recently listened to the podcast you participated in with Dr. Crocker and your husband. Your conversation about veterinary school created a lot of questions for myself.
Oh boy, I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Yeah,
Way to go.
Way to go, Kings. Okay.
You want me to keep going? Okay. To give you a background of my situation, my husband and I also got married last year going into our second year of school, and we were both attending SGU together. So as you know, we have double the debt. My husband and I have had multiple conversations on how we might be able to tackle our debt coming out of veterinary school in 2 years when we were 28. Our hope is to do an internship as well because we love emergency medicine for small animals and exotics, but there is that added concern of that first year out of school not getting paid well. We are hoping to start a family once we get settled into an official job. In an ideal world, we would love to be able to put a dent in our debt before bringing a child into our situation. Our idea to tackle our debt is just to pick up emergency shifts whenever possible and work per diem at an additional hospital if there is time in our schedule. I am not sure if you have heard or seen others come at this differently or if you personally have any thoughts about this. Our long-term goal career-wise is to work emergency for small animal exotics and one day inherit or open a general practice emergency center.
Additionally, when you spoke about how school charges are skyrocketing without a description of where the money is going is a very true statement. I have been seeing my tuition charges change every term, and I have always wondered if it was allowed to ask what exactly is my tuition money covering, especially considering that we are no longer provided textbooks or actively dissecting cadavers. Additionally, there are several expenses that we are expected to cover on our own in order to participate in certain classes. So I have been feeling for a while that something just doesn't seem right with my tuition increasing, yet the curriculum has changed since COVID. I definitely feel like it's a topic that everyone knows about, but there are so many unknowns that it's difficult to know how to approach it.
I appreciate you taking the time to read this email, and I apologize it became such an essay. I love listening to your podcast as well as Dr. Crocker's because it really can make me think about the industry and what I would like to bring to the table once it's time to start practicing. Samantha.
That's a lot, Samantha. Wow. Yeah. I'm so glad you're thinking about this now.
Yep.
Because I think if you can think about where you want to be, then you can work backwards. Because, you know, both of you being from St. George's, I mean, the debt is going to be astronomical.
Yes.
And I don't want to say anything to like make it worse. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like make it feel like it's impossible.
Discourage them.
Right. Because you're already in the boat, right? Okay. So you're in the boat. So how are you going to attack the problem?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the only way to do it is to you solve the problem. Don't rely on the government to solve the problem for you because you just like when I did that video not too long ago, nobody knows what tax policy is going to be in 25 years. Like, so the SAVE Act, which has already been put on hold, is not going, you don't want to rely on somebody else to fix your problem for you. So you're going to have to fix the problem. So then what's the best way to do that?
Right.
So if it was me, I mean, what you're talking about in terms of, I would hammer away, I would live as cheap as possible. I would have and I would do it. This sounds easy for me to say, right? I'm not the one doing it, but I think you're going to put in work now to be able to enjoy life later. So and I'd have to work backwards knowing the numbers, but I would put away one person's salary or 1.5 person's salary all on debt and I would figure out how many months, years I'd have to do that. And then I would live as cheap as possible. I would not go on any like vacations that cost me money. That doesn't mean you can't have time away from work. It means that you can't go on an expensive vacation.
Yes.
And I would just really live frugally because if you're taking 400,000 times 2, that's $800,000. And now you take $800,000 over 30 years, and that's going to be like, what's the point? Like, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think if you do it, and people after I posted had really sent back a lot of comments being like, I did this for 5 years and we got it all done. And it's like, yes, you can do it.
Yes.
And the person said, we didn't do this. I made sure we did this and this and this, and we were able to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, awesome.
Yeah.
Now you can move on and you can do the things you want to do.
Exactly.
But it's crippling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think you basically said it, but a strategy my husband and I have used, like my paycheck goes towards my student loans until it's all taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Now then we're living just off of his.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one change. And then of course, now that we have a child, obviously things change, right? So you have to be okay with like, okay, my paycheck's supposed to go towards my debt, but we need this or this. So it's not going to be that way this month. Or, that means it's going to take away from us doing what you said, XYZ. Yeah. We don't go out to dinner. We don't go on a big lavish vacation. And that's just with adding the child. But that's before that, you still have to figure out where you're comfortable with your lifestyle. And then does that mean your paycheck and half of his paycheck get put aside and you just live off of a small portion of one of your paychecks once you're out of school?
I think that the fact that they're going to do emergency medicine is going to be to their benefit.
I think so.
They're going to be able to make a good chunk of change.
Yes.
Doing emergency medicine.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be paid a higher wage, and if you're paid pro-sal, then you're going to be paid a higher percent typically because you're working shifts that people don't want to work.
Yep.
So, when you get out of school and you're doing that, maybe one of you is working those undesirable shifts where you can then request a higher percent.
Yep.
So now you're making even more money for the hours worked.
Yeah.
So like strategizing that way.
And they said like picking up other shifts in other areas.
Yeah.
So maybe you alternate. Maybe you pick up extra shifts one month and then your husband does it the next month so you can have some sort of break and you don't drive yourself into burnout.
Exactly.
Because that's the other thing with emergency medicine, especially. You got to be careful because it's just
you got to be able to get away from it. Yeah.
Yes, you have to be able to have a break in it too. So
I think if you lay it out and look at it, and then formulate a plan, I think you'll feel like you're getting somewhere.
Yes. Versus
living for 10 years and thinking you were doing things. I love your idea of, we're paying this first, like kind of a thing. Because if you wait to the end of the month to pay things or to pay yourself even, if you're going to put money in a savings account or whatever, it never happens. You're never going, you need to pay yourself first. So put money into your savings account, pay your student loan. You'll figure out the rest.
Yes.
But doing it the opposite, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just does not work. Everybody has the best intentions, but
I know.
It's like, it just doesn't work.
Well,
I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't work. Like where you're like, well, whatever's left over.
Yeah.
I'll put that in savings.
There's nothing left over.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're intentionally trying to spend it.
No.
It's just that it freaking disappears.
You go to put, okay, I paid this. Okay, I'm going to go put this in save. And then it's gone.
Yeah.
You have $2.
Yeah.
That's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I'm a fan of the Dave Ramsey way of doing things from the perspective of allocating money to things. So, you're like, okay, this is how much we have to put for groceries. And like you're going to go buy groceries. You're taking out of that
That's what we
envelope
do.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or we want to go out to eat. We have $100 to go out to eat this month. And when it's no longer, nothing's in the envelope, you're not going out to eat.
Yes.
So like it keeps you from, it's pre-deciding. And I think when you're trying to make decisions, if you can pre-decide as much as possible, you set yourself up for success.
Mm-hmm.
So if I already know how I'm going to handle that decision, it's not like, well, we could kind of sort of go ahead. We could steal from the grocery fund.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
I've never done that. Never. So I don't know. Those are just.
And life happens. So like,
Yep.
don't be so written in stone that you're going to drive a wedge
between you and your husband. You don't
Yeah.
want that.
No.
Or, yeah.
Just
It's a team approach for sure.
yes. And
Mhm.
adjustments change.
Yeah.
You just need to make adjustments.
Life happens.
Life
So-
happens.
Mom, to go off of your point by paying it off sooner, I put all of this into a loan calculator to give the listener some perspective.
Okay.
If you are paying off an $800,000 student loan at a 5% interest rate, which is lower than what they are
Which
going
is low.
for
It's
right now,
8%.
and if you pay that over 30 years and your monthly payment is $4,200, you are going to be paying
42.
over a 30-year term $1.5 million, which is why it's important to pay them off as soon as possible.
Put in 8% because that's what the loans are. They're 7 to 8%, which is why it's bananas, because that loan, a loan for graduate students, should not have an interest rate of 7 to 8% because they're non-dischargeable in bankruptcy. They're basically risk-free loans.
Yeah.
Like
on 8%, you have a monthly payment of $5,800. You are paying off $1.3 million total. Or I'm sorry. Your total interest is $1.3 million.
Are
if
you
pay it
talking
off
to
over
the-
30 years.
Are you talking to your mic so they can hear you?
Yes, I'm talking into my mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to repeat that. That's
I
insane.
also think it's important for the listeners as well that we're going to dive deeper into this topic in a few guest episodes in November. We're going to have a pre-vet student on, and we're also going to have somebody from academia to kind of give us a deep dive into
where the money's
where
going.
the
for
money's
one.
going.
Yes.
Because okay, so Harrison, you're saying that to pay the loan off over 30 years, I'd have to make a monthly payment of $5,800?
Correct.
That's not feasible.
$5,800 for a month for 30 years.
That's what this calculator is telling me.
For 30 years.
Is that really true, Harrison Branch?
I'm the student loan balance is $800,000. The average interest rate is 8%. The loan term is 30 years. It says the monthly payment is $5,800. Making on-time payments can go a long way towards building a healthy credit score. Your total interest is $1.3 million. This means your total repayment amount would be $2.1 million.
$2.1 million. You pay $1.3 million in interest. That's the freaking
The interest
crime.
will get you.
That is the crime.
It's a
And see,
crime.
here's the
They're
thing.
stealing.
$5,800, you cannot, so you can't pay that, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so these kids are going to get out of school. They're not going to be able to pay that. So they're going to want to do the SAVE plan because it
Forgiveness.
adjusts for your income.
Yeah.
So now you are going to pay $3,000 a month, but the interest keeps accruing on itself. So now you're 55 and you're going to want to retire, whatever, 60 something. And what if now the government comes back in and says, "Oh, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not doing this tax thing. We're not doing the SAVE plan anymore. So you actually now owe us the remainder of your balance."
Yeah.
Or when you pay it off, when that loan gets forgiven, say you go out 30 years and the plan stays in effect. Now you've been forgiven $1 million. You're going to pay taxes on the $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they give you the $1 million
Just
free.
poof.
Like, you're paying taxes now on $1 million. Like, don't let the government solve the problem for you. Like,
They're not solving a problem.
No.
They're creating the problem.
No, they're creating a problem. And so you solve the problem. So good on you. Get after it, Samantha.
Yeah.
You're going to get it done. I believe in you.
Yep.
Ramen noodles.
Ramen noodles for dinner. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
PB&J.
No, I think there's ways to do it. You can do it. I know you can.
Yes.
You just gotta suffer a little bit. You can't have the
But you
nicest
have to
things
be
for a little
aware
bit.
of the numbers. That's all.
Absolutely.
As
That's what we're
much-
saying.
As
That's what we're saying.
painful as it is, you just have to know what they are.
Yes, absolutely.
So
As a final point, there is an ER vet that we know personally, and she had hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and she paid it off, I believe, over 2 years because she took double or triple the amount of shifts that an ER vet should take. She says herself that it was very tiring and very gruesome, but to give you an ounce of hope, that worked for her.
okay.
You did it. Like she did it. Now she's done.
Yep.
Boom.
Okay.
Now all the money's going home.
That's right.
Frying the bacon up in a pan. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Veterinary Roundtable. Send in those questions and leave us a review if you enjoyed this episode or previous one. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Veterinary Roundtable.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.